Okay. I've been having some, like, my Wi-Fi's been acting all weird. Mm-hmm. Like, sometimes it works. Like, sometimes I can connect just fine. Other times it just completely drops out and I have to, like, switch the networks or, like, unplug it. And you know how we have my complex over here? Mm-hmm. It's a barn. Mm-hmm. So what I actually tried, I took my router and I moved it into the barn. And now my Wi-Fi has been a lot more stable.
You can do that? Really? Really? It took me like a second, but now I'm like, ooh.
Now you got it. There you go.
That was terrible. That was genuinely bad.
Now we can start.
That I'm not expecting a joke at all, and then I'm like, oh, stable. Okay. Welcome to the third episode of Beer and Fear. My name is Paige.
My name is Zach.
And today we're going to be talking about Stalkers.
Stalkers, episode 3.
You want to tell me about your day before we get into it?
My day.
Or your week, since it's been a week since we last talked. Well, not really, but you know.
Yeah. I didn't do too many things exciting. I mentioned I was going to talk about a couple restaurants I went to.
Yeah, you said you had stories for me and you wouldn't tell me.
Yeah, I forgot all of those.
Great, you fucking tease.
Yeah. But I'm happy that restaurants are still open during the shit show that's 2020.
Yeah.
Because I can only make the same 2 or 3 recipes every day at home.
Those breakfast tacos that you just made were pretty...
breakfast tacos are bomb.
Those are pretty solid.
I'll never get tired of making those. But I appreciate going out to restaurants. I went to this really good burger place with a friend called the Burger Social. It's in Wheaton. Got to check it out. Get the brisket burger, because that's what I got.
The picture you shared, woo!
It had... It was like a 1/4 pound beef patty with like just a mountain of brisket, some avocados, and some pickled onions. Oof.
Avocado.
Oh, some avocados. I also went to, just the other day, I went to this place called, I think it's called Fat Duck or Duck Fat. It's next to Brown Cow. And we talked about Brown Cow last week.
Remember, I've been there with you before.
Oh, yeah, we went there before.
Yeah, we've been there together like twice.
That's a really good restaurant.
It is delicious.
I got a pulled pork sandwich with some pickles and slaw on it.
Slaw.
And some duck fat fries. If you're going to go to Duck Fat.
So good.
Get the duck fat fries because they're amazing. So, Fat Duck Tavern in Forest Park, and when I say Burger Social in Wheaton, those are your 2 restaurant recs for this week.
Are we going to make that a thing now?
Sure, yeah, it can become a thing. We'll recommend a new restaurant or an ice cream place. Just those 2.
Yeah, only those. We won't go into anything else.
I'm trying to think what else.
Well, you probably worked.
Yeah, I still worked a lot. Getting excited for vacation.
Yeah.
Which is next week. I'm leaving. Well, I have 9 days off, and I think I'm leaving the following Tuesday. So I got 1 more week of work, and then I get to go to Michigan.
Yeah, for like you're on vacation for the first time in like what, over a year?
Over a year, yeah. Because I was supposed to take one last year, and then I switched jobs right around the time I was supposed to go on vacation, so I didn't really get to go. But I'm pretty excited. I'm just realizing that I don't have a suitcase because I lost the one that I had that I took with me when I moved here. That got lost in all the water, got water damaged. So I don't have a suitcase. So I was looking online because one of the podcasts I listen to, and that's why I drink. And I think Wine and Crime does it too.
You stop plugging other podcasts.
Well, they're great podcasts. Everyone should check them out. I love them.
They don't plug us.
Well, because they don't know we exist yet. So we're, not that cool yet.
Yeah. But I appreciate the optimism.
Yeah, we'll get there. One of the ads that they do on And That's Why We Drink is for away luggage. And I was looking on their website, and luggage is expensive.
It is expensive.
I've never had to buy suitcases yet. I'm 25, and I haven't had to do that yet because I just had hand-me-downs.
Yes.
From like 30, 40 years ago.
Yes, I have my mom's suitcase from when she got married to my first stepdad.
Oh my God, that's where my suitcases were from. They were an anniversary gift for my parents.
Just held on to them.
Yeah, so they're really old.
Suitcase is a suitcase.
Right. But I was looking on Away Luggage's website, and it's not cheap. If you want a good quality suitcase that'll last you, obviously you got to spend some money on something good. You can go to like Walmart or whatever and get like a cheap, nylon
but not you.
suitcase. Not me. When it comes to buying stuff,
Need a whole set.
yeah. When it comes to buying stuff, I don't cheap out. So I almost pulled the trigger on an Away
would be
Luggage
the person
set
that would buy the scooter that's also a suitcase.
that you could ride around the airport. Well, these are cool because one of them has I'm talking like they're a sponsor. They should be. They're not. They should be.
We don't have sponsors.
We'll get there again.
He's so optimistic.
But one of them, they have a removable battery in the suitcase, so you can charge your phone. It'll charge your phone up to 4 times with this battery. They're pretty incredible.
Because that's super important for your trip to Michigan.
Yeah, right. We're driving there. It's like, I don't know what I'm going to do.
What am I going to
charge
do?
my phone. But no, I bet it's good for people who fly overseas and you're at the airport for a long time. You got a long flight or something, and it's in your carry-on and it can charge your phone. I was just really impressed, and I almost bought the suitcases for my trip. I was seeing if they would ship here quick enough before next week. But then I thought maybe let's wait, and they can eventually be a sponsor on our podcast and just send us free suitcases.
Oh my God.
I was like, I'll hold off on that. I think I can live without.
I'll bide my time.
I can live without a suitcase right now
Until I get sponsors.
Yeah, hopefully later on. Away Luggage, if you're listening.
Keep an ear out there.
We
want you, baby.
We really do. We need some sponsors.
3 episodes in. Sponsors.
Let's come on. Let's get this ball rolling. How are you? How's your week been? Tell me all about it.
I'm okay.
We both had kind of bummy weeks.
Yeah, if we're being honest.
And we met up yesterday. You came over. We ordered some Outback.
We just wanted to spend time together.
Yeah, we hung out and we talked and we caught up because we can't share everything with you on the podcast, unfortunately.
I mean, I would, but there are certain people that listen to this where I have to kind of like maintain
a lot of personal stuff,
appropriate level
that I think is just it's good to be kept as personal.
It was okay. It's been a week. The storm yesterday really sucked. Thankfully, I have power. Thankfully, you have power.
It's good.
I know a lot of people don't have power right now. It's not going to come on until like the 15th. That really sucks. It was scary. My dad had like a near-death experience, so that was terrifying. Yeah, it was not fun.
Yeah, imagine all the drivers. I'm going to close the window.
Yeah,
I'm going to close the window. I'm going to turn the air on. Hang on.
Okay.
This is turn it into a repeat of last week. I was imagining all the people that were unfortunately still out on the roads driving when that storm hit.
Well, I was asleep. Like I told you this before, I was out cold and I didn't wake up until like 4 p.m. But my dad called my stepmom and was like, "Hey, I love you, just so you know." Like basically saying goodbye because he was trapped on the road, and I was just like, "Jesus Christmas, that is oof."
Little dramatic, I think, but at the same time, you never want to get a text like that because that'd freak the hell out of you.
Yeah. So that was terrifying. And then I told you this before, but I had another date, and I made a man cry.
Yeah. Okay, nice going.
Yeah,
way to go.
So I made somebody cry like 3 times in the span of spending time with them, and not in like an aggressive, like I was mean to him way, but in like he's a very fragile individual, and
he was overwhelmed with emotion.
Yes, from cuddling. So
made a man cry from cuddling.
I've made a man cry. I make everybody cry. This is my curse. If I hug you, I will make you cry. This is the crutch I bear. But yeah, that was my week, and it's only Tuesday.
It's only Tuesday.
But let's get into it.
Sure. Let's talk about the beer. What beer do we have this week?
So I picked out a beer called Apex Predator. I was thinking Predator, Stalker, Stalking, Prey. So that was my...
And some stalkers are predators. can be considered predators.
There you go. So
it ties right in.
that was my connection. I know we're not really trying for connections, but I was like, why not?
Close enough.
Close enough.
Fits.
I mean, like I said, I found a beer that I liked that was literally called Stalker, but I wasn't going to be able to get it in time. I got to start planning better.
Oh, I think we both need to. Yeah.
Yes, we do. It's from Off Color Brewing. Its ABV is 6.5%. They are located in Chicago, Illinois. Excuse me.
What's the brewery again?
Off Color.
Off Color? In Chicago?
Yes.
I never heard of it. Never heard of the brewery before.
It is a farmhouse ale or this is French, Saison or Saison, I'm not sure, but it translates to season. So a seasonal beer. It's a style of beer originating in the French-speaking Wallonia region of Belgium. They are known as farmhouse-style ales for a reason because they were originally brewed on actual farms long before refrigeration. So they used the labor-light winter months, farmers did, to brew beer. So when it was colder.
Oh, wow.
The ingredients in this beer are Pilsner malt, flaked wheat, honey malt, sugar, crystal, and sterling hops, and then Saison yeast.
Saison yeast.
Yes. The brewery description for the beer, because I love to include that. When you brew as much as we do, sometimes we get tired of telling the yeast what to do. For Apex Predator Farmhouse Ale, we pitch the yeast cold, turn off the temperature control, and let the yeast do its thing. To our delight, it spat out the sweet scent of juicy fruit wafting from a frothy white mane. Brewed only with grain and sugar unencumbered by the heat of the kiln. We create a hazy golden body. Apex Predator gets its teeth from a generous crystal dry hopping that completes the dry finish with a fruity bite. Pounce on the opportunity to let it part your lips, and you may find yourself at the top of the food chain. I feel like I could totally do like commercial advertisements.
Way to go, yeast.
Yeah,
did a hell of a job.
And then I like to look up reviews from other people. So I went to my favorite website, Beer Advocate.
That's your favorite website?
It's my favorite website to look up beer reviews.
Oh, okay.
So this is from a guy named Speedway Jim.
All right, Speedway Jim's going to tell us all about this beer.
Calling out you for Speedway Jim. Great guy. His description and review is a great goldenrod color, even better fluffy white head with great retention. Nose is clove, coriander, tulip, cane sugar, peppercorn, and a touch of lemon zest. Super aromatic, perfect for the style.
I'm sure I'm going to smell all those things.
Yes, give it a good whiff. Beer opens flour, coriander, and cane sugar, clove and Belgian yeast in the middle with some breadiness and lemon zest at the finish. This is spot on for the style. Body is light with ample carbonation, prickly and lively on the palate, and goes down aggressive. Sparkling dry finish, super drinkable.
Goes down aggressive. Should I be
Me
concerned?
Me too.
Should I be worried?
You should.
That sounds good. I'm blanking again because I have a terrible short-term memory. The name of the brewery again?
Off Color Brewing.
Off Color Brewing.
Yes.
And the style of beer again?
Is farmhouse ale.
Farmhouse ale, that's
or
right. Or
Saison.
Something to do with
Saison.
So what is it like I'm sure we'll see when we open it. Is it a dark beer? Well, an ale is kind of like a golden, you know.
It's a like
an
Speedway
amber,
Jim said. It's
like,
goldenrod.
Okay, yeah, I should listen to Speedway.
You
Jim
really
a
should
little
listen to me more. Just said all this.
I'm sorry. It's all the weed I smoked when I was a youngin'. I blame that.
Yeah, really? Don't blame weed. You want to get the beer?
Sure.
Welcome back.
Thank you. So in celebration of me going to Michigan, we got our Michigan drink local. This is kind of a cool beer glass. It looks like a beer can, essentially. If you make a beer can of glass, that's what I'm drinking out of. And then, Paige, I got you the infamous Route 31 Michigan pint glass as well.
Oh, I feel spoiled. Thank you. So the can's got this like really crazily drawn lion on it, and I could not figure out who the artist was, and I think it's literally just the guys that own the brewery.
Brewed and bottled by Off Color Brewing in Chicago, Illinois. Yeah, I've never heard of this brewery before. That is a dope-ass looking lion, though.
Oh, you got a little bit of froth there.
Ugh, the foam is strong.
The foam is strong with this one.
It is hazy. Oh, gosh.
Oh, God. Oh, boy. Got a little excited over there. Very carbonated.
I'm making a mess.
You are making a mess. You're dripping on the couch.
It's tasty.
I'm waiting for the foam to go down. I don't want to suck foam. Band name.
Yeah, first glance.
I gotta work on my pour.
Well, I thought I had mine good, but it's just a very foamy beer. Yeah.
They said it was foamy. We should have listened.
Farmhouse ale. God, we keep forgetting. We gotta clink. Okay.
Oh, what the hell! I like this.
What are
Ooh.
What are all the things that Speedway Jim said it smelled like?
Clove, coriander, taste of lemon zest.
Yeah, I smell all those things, like I said I would. Mm-hmm.
What is that, coriander?
That's definitely coriander. Is that clove?
Give it a good sniff.
This is really good. This is a unique, it's very fruity. Lemon, yeah, definitely lemony. I can taste the lemon. I heard that.
Damn it.
At first glance, I would think it was hazy IPA, because that's what it looks like. It is very cloudy. Mm-hmm. And I think, from what I've gathered in my elementary amount of beer research, I think generally most hazy beers have a fruity sort of palate to them, a fruity profile. Mm-hmm. So if you see a hazy beer, generally it's going to be fruit forward, which this is. It's good. I like it. It's a good, it is very drinkable.
It is. I enjoy it, and it's a good change up from the last two. I was worried that it'd be too hoppy just because of the dry hop, but...
Does a little bit of a bite to it, but...
I wouldn't say that it goes down aggressive.
No, you can definitely tell it's got a little bite though, but it's not, it is very sippable. I like it. Oh my God, it's good.
Oh, I do, yeah. Once it hits the back of your throat, there's some bite.
Yep.
That's
tasty. Good choice.
Even the foam was tasty.
It was. That was my first 5 sips.
Yeah, your first 5 sips was foam all over your mustache.
Good beer.
Yes, I'm glad that it tastes as good as it looks.
Just like me.
Oh. Look out for this heartbreaker, ladies.
Maybe I should put this in the fridge.
Always doing something. So
we can't use that. That's why I just use a ticking stopwatch.
Copyright.
Because, I don't think this show would make it very far if we use the Jeopardy theme music.
Dang it.
So, like Paige mentioned, we're doing Stalkers this episode. Episode's all about Stalkers. Paige did the pick. I'm pretty excited. I found a lot of cool research about Stalkers. A lot of good stories here. So let's just get into it. What is stalking? Stalking is unwanted and or repeated surveillance by an individual or a group towards another person.
I feel like we're teaching people how to stalk.
Mm-hmm. This is what stalking is.
Just
Children, listen up.
No class.
When someone repeatedly watches, follows, or harasses you, making you feel afraid or unsafe. It can be someone you know, a past significant other, which most oftentimes it is, or a complete stranger. It involves repeated in-person following or monitoring of a victim or their actions, constant attempts at communication, either in person, through mail, phone, or electronically. May involve the offender showing up at the victim's home or work uninvited, leaving unwanted items or gifts, tracking via social media, waiting at places the victim frequents, and contacting friends, relatives, or coworkers of the victim, usually with the intention to further investigate the victim and their life. So pretty creepy stuff. Unfortunately, it happens quite a bit. Stalking, I feel like stalking stories are somewhat prolific. There's an overabundance of them with celebrities and even just normal everyday people. I feel like a good majority of people, if you were to ask them, we go into the stats too. It's actually.
I'm glad you did the statistics.
It's actually a pretty serious issue. Some of the early instances of stalking, the term stalking has been used as early as the 16th century to refer to it actually referred to a prowler or a poacher in regards to like hunting.
Oh,
it would be a stalker.
Oh, so predator.
Right. So perfect ties in. It wasn't used to refer to a subject who harasses others until about the 20th century, until modern time. Around the 1990s, use of the term usually referred to offenders who harassed celebrities, just celebrities, and it was often described as being they were often described as being obsessed and it possibly originated from tabloid press in the U.S. So the term probably came about from the tabloids and, news and magazines.
Just snowballed from there.
Right. One notable instance of star stalking is the case of Rebecca Schaefer. Have you heard of her?
I don't think so.
I think another wine and crime. So I'm going to plug these guys more.
Yeah, keep doing that.
They covered.
Don't listen to us.
They covered Rebecca Schaefer. If you want to hear a good story about Rebecca Schaefer, you should look that up. She was born in 1967. She was a model and an actress. She played Patricia Patty Russell in the CBS comedy My Sister Sam, as well as the black comedy Scenes from the Class Struggle in Beverly Hills. At the age of 21, she was shot and killed by obsessed fan Robert John Bardo, who had been stalking her for 3 years.
Holy crap.
He had wrote her several letters, one of which she responded to, and he even traveled to LA hoping to meet her on the set of her show. After becoming jealous of seeing Schaefer in bed with another actor on the set of her comedy, he paid a detective to help locate her home address while his brother helped him acquire the handgun.
Whoa.
Yeah, pretty serious. Well, that was, again, one of the earlier instances of star stalking is
That's crazy.
The case with Rebecca Schaefer. Unfortunately, she only made it to 21 and she was shot and killed by this guy.
Young.
He did get a life sentence. I think he's still incarcerated at this time. Speaking of, this is that's Robert John Bardo.
That looks like a stalker.
Mm-hmm. He's got a stocky face. Mm-hmm. He just looks weird.
I've seen him.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember that butt chin. Can never forget a butt chin.
That butt chin. He's still in jail. And another thing I'll quickly mention, these pictures that we're showing each other, any graphs or information or any supplementary stuff that we talk about in the show, this will actually be available for you to check out as well. If you go to our website, it's beerandfear.podbean.com, or you can just use the bit.ly link. I think it's bit.ly/BAF Podbean to get to our main website. It's where we release all of our episodes. And if you go to the left, you can open up a little sidebar, and then you can click on each episode. So you'd click on episode 3, Stalkers, and you can view these images along with us while you listen. Getting back, victims of domestic violence began...
Can I just interrupt really quickly?
Sure.
I want to make a t-shirt that says never forget a butt chin.
It's random.
I was just thinking of that. I'm like, that's my catchphrase. Never forget a butt chin.
Never forget a butt chin.
Never forget a butt chin.
Yeah, Bardo does have a butt chin, so it's his signature. I guess you can... That's why you recognized him?
Yeah, I remember that butt chin.
This beer is good.
I'm glad you like it. That makes me so happy.
Guys, get yourself some Apex Predator by Off Color, because it's tasty.
Yeah, you're tasty.
Victims of domestic violence began relating their concerns to those of star stalking cases. So regular people started... who had stalkers, they started tying these cases into these stars that were being stalked for similar reasons and similar behaviors exhibited by these stalkers. And they started arguing that these victims who were attempting to leave abusive relationships would often seek out restraining orders against their former partners. And then the term stalking eventually evolved to include such victims. So it went from just being related to celebrities and stars to involving just any person who has someone like this, a suspect like this. In 1990, California passed the first anti-stalking law in the U.S., and by the early 21st century, all 50 states had criminalized stalking. Most of the following information that I'm about to read now comes from Michelle Pathay and Paul E. Mullen's publications, A Study of Stalkers and Stalkers and Their Victims. So this is where I got this info. So there's a few different types of victims when it comes to stalking. There's prior intimates. They're arguably the largest demographic of victims. The victims are usually female, while their stalkers are usually their prior male partners. They're more likely to be exposed to violence from their stalker, and it also includes date stalkers, where the stalker had an intimate relationship with the victim, but it was short-lived, so they weren't in a long-term relationship. They also fall into this category of prior intimates. When I first read that, it looked like prior inmates. It does kind of. That wouldn't make as much sense. Another category is casual acquaintances and friends. Most male stalking victims belong to this category. So people you weren't necessarily in a relationship with, and they happen to be largely male. They also include neighbor stalking. So if you're stalked by your neighbor, they fall into this category. And these stalkers sometimes cause victims to change, where their residents have to move away. Another category is professional contacts, so your bosses and your coworkers. They're stalked by patients, clients, or students where the victim engaged in a professional relationship. And actually, healthcare providers, teachers, and lawyers are at higher risk.
Really? Okay, see, I could get lawyers. I could see that. Like, if you're crazy and your lawyer lost your case or something.
Yeah, I'm sure there's been stuff like that. I was trying to...
Doctors?
Yeah, I was trying to make some sense of that. Yeah, anyone that works in healthcare and teachers, I think what it comes down to is the interaction with people, like face-to-face interaction, because you meet so many people every day in your professional life if you belong to one of those categories. So it's definitely not limited to those, but it just listed healthcare providers and teachers and lawyers at higher risk, I think, because they just meet and interact with so many people.
I could also see teachers.
All the time, yeah. Workplace contacts is another category. So stalkers of these victims are either employees. Oh, I confused that with the other one. They're either employees, employers, or customers, and they pose a risk not only to the victim, but the safety of others as well. So maybe other employees or coworkers that aren't necessarily
Well, I got to say, it's
involved.
super easy. And the way I say this is just to be like, hey, it's the truth. It is super easy to stalk people in this day and age.
Yes. Yeah, we talk about that too. It's technology has only exacerbated that, made it a lot
So much personal
easier.
Information is online.
Yep, and it's readily accessible. And if you wanted to, you can, it's very easy to go in. And yeah, unfortunately, that's why I feel like more and more people nowadays are becoming victims of this because of technology. And we do mention that too. There's two other categories. One category is just strangers. So victims are typically unaware of how their stalkers began the stalking. They're typically unaware for long periods of time.
Stories where it's just like they saw them on the street and they're like, oh my God, I'm immediately obsessed with this person. I need to know everything about them. And they like follow them home. Yep.
And they're oblivious at time that these victims until unfortunately something dangerous ends up happening. So they're typically unaware of how they began stalking, how these stalkers began stalking. And just like you said, my next bullet point is that these victim stalkers form adoration from a distance.
Yeah.
So you could just happen to be seeing someone and then something in their fucked up mind clicks to where they need to now follow this person.
Or they create this attachment that doesn't exist where they're like, oh, I made eye contact with this person. They gave me a sign.
Right. I think I may have mentioned something in there about that. Yeah, I think that when we go into types of stalkers, I mentioned that too.
Well, I told you about that guy that found me at work and then found me on Facebook, right?
It sounds familiar.
It wasn't like a full-on, he wasn't stalking me. He just was looking for signs that didn't exist. But he found me, he saw me at work once and then found me on Facebook and messaged me and tried to ask me out. And I was just like, wow, this random dude found me on Facebook and I had given him no interaction. I did not tell him my name. I don't wear a name tag at work.
Wow.
So it was fucking creepy.
That's weird. Yeah, Facebook, that's another reason why I'm not on Facebook. I don't want to get involved.
Yeah,
No,
honestly,
thanks.
you're right. You shouldn't have a Facebook. Down with Facebook.
Maybe we shouldn't talk negatively about Facebook because we're trying to build a platform on Facebook.
Yeah,
too.
I know, but Mark Zuckerberg's a pedophile.
Oh yeah, Mark Zuckerberg. He's not doing so great.
He's a lizard person and a pedophile.
Last category is famous people. Definitely very big targets because they get so much attention in the media. Ones that come to mind right away, I just listed a few. Enya. You know Enya?
Why is that familiar?
Oh, Enya. You don't know Enya?
I like that I said, why is that familiar? And then you're like, you don't know Enya?
I love Enya. Enya's great. I love her music.
I love when people are like, you don't know this? You know, this name? And they say it again like that'll jog memories that don't exist. You've never seen Toy Story? You know, the movie Toy Story?
The movie.
About toys?
Yeah, it's called Toy Story.
No, what are you talking about?
This is Enya.
A picture of someone does nothing for me.
Okay, hold on. You've seen Lord of the Rings?
Yes.
Okay, she has let's see if I can find it.
She's a singer, right?
She is singer-songwriter. This is probably her most popular, because it was in Lord of the Rings.
I already know who you're talking about now. That's all it takes. You could have just said, and who?
And just started singing the song.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Enya. Her famous for her single "Only Time."
So she got stalked
She did get stalked
by a Lord of the Rings fan.
I don't know. It didn't specify. But
Oh.
no, I think this was before Lord of the Rings. This took place in '96.
That was before Lord of the Rings.
That was before Lord of the Rings. In '96, an Italian man who was seen in Dublin wearing a photograph of Enya around his neck stabbed himself outside of her parents' pub after being ejected from the premises.
Oh boy.
Also later on in May 2005, Enya spent roughly 250,000 pounds on security improvements to her castle. Despite these improvements,
Her castle?
She has a castle.
Oh
yeah.
my God.
This is Dublin. This is Ireland. There's
Everyone's
castles
got
everywhere.
a castle.
Despite these improvements, in October 2005, 2 people broke into her home.
Castle.
Into her castle. One attacked and tied up one of her housekeepers and left with several of Enya's items after she had raised the alarm in her safe room.
Oh my God.
So she was home when this happened.
She was in her safe room and her housekeeper got screwed.
Yeah, so...
Thanks a lot, Enya.
I think that came to mind. When I was getting into her music, I looked her up on Wikipedia.
When I was getting into her music. I'm really into Enya.
Yeah, she's got good music.
She's great. I love her.
She's a good voice. Jennifer Lopez was.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, she had a stalker named John Dubus. John lived in Lopez's pool house for 6 days without anyone noticing.
Damn.
He told police after he was arrested that he was her husband and claimed that she had sent him gifts.
You know what? I feel like I remember this story.
He also posted photos on Facebook the entire time throughout those 6 days. This is John Dubus.
Oh, John Dubus also looks like a stalker.
Mm-hmm. That was one of the photos that he posted on Facebook.
I like that it's Dove chocolate in this picture.
Said that
he didn't go cheap for her.
No, said that J-Lo had bought her that box of heart-shaped Dove chocolate.
My baby J-Lo.
Her adoration. And then another one, Eddie Vedder, was also a victim of stalking. Of course, I got to mention the Vedster. During the mid-1990s, Vedder had a pretty serious stalker problem involving a female superfan. He stated it made it hard for him to leave the house and contributed to his reputation for being an angry recluse. He wouldn't say what happened to the woman, except noting that, yeah, oh, she's still alive.
I hate you.
She's still alive. And there were no ongoing...
No. Don't even try and, glance on past just happened.
She's still alive.
Bad.
That's...
Bad. Okay, go ahead. You just needed to be properly scolded. That was terrible.
She's still alive.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for singing it.
There were no ongoing legal proceedings... Legal proceedings against her, and Vedder eventually found another place to live in Seattle.
I thought you were going to say found another stalker. He finally
moved
found
on.
a new one.
He moved on. And actually the song Lukin off the 96 album No Code makes reference to his stalking problem.
Of course you go into detail when it comes to Eddie Vedder.
Well, I knew this song.
Yeah.
And if you look up the lyrics online, it talks about his stalking.
You want to sing all of them?
It's 56 seconds. It's a short track, so check it out. Good song.
Is it a song if it's 56 seconds?
Yeah, it's a short song.
It's a short song.
So now we go into, before we talk about the types of stalkers, we're going to talk a little bit about gender, because gender does play a big role in stalkers and their victims. In general, women often target other women, whereas men primarily stalk women. That's not a surprise. A U.S. DOJ, U.S. Department of Justice report indicated that males were as likely to report being stalked by a male as a female offender. 43% of male stalking victims stated that the offender was female, while 41% of male victims stated that the offender was another male. Female victims of stalking were significantly more likely to be stalked by a male, 67%, rather than a female, 24%. In an article in the journal Sex Roles, Jennifer Langhenrich-Rohling,
that was beautiful,
discusses how gender plays a role in the difference between stalkers and their victims. She says gender is associated with the types of emotional reactions that are experienced by recipients of stalking-related events, including the degree of fear experienced by the victim. In addition, she hypothesizes that gender may also affect how police handle a case of stalking, how the victim copes with the situation, and how the stalker might view their behavior. She discusses how victims might view certain forms of stalking as normal because of gender socialization influences on the acceptability of certain behaviors. She emphasizes that in the United Kingdom, Australia, and the U.S., strangers are considered more dangerous when it comes to stalking than a former partner is. Media also plays an important role due to portrayals of male stalking behavior as acceptable, influencing men into thinking it is normal.
Huh.
Since gender roles are socially constructed, sometimes men don't report stalking. So a lot of information in there. They all kind of tie together, but I thought it was very interesting.
That is interesting.
Gender socialization and how the media kind of again portrays it as being acceptable. So men think it's not as big of a deal as it actually is.
Yeah.
To victims of stalking. Unfortunately, it's just how it goes. So not only is technology to blame, but also media and portrayals in the media.
You sound like a 40-year-old mom blaming bad video games for the reason their kids are violent.
You better not watch that movie.
Are you playing that GTO?
GTO.
You're playing that GTO again? You're going to learn how to steal cars and run over prostitutes.
It's all video games' fault.
Yep, all video games' fault.
So now we talk about the types of stalkers. First one is rejected stalkers. So they follow their victims in order to reverse, correct, or avenge a rejection, such as a divorce, separation, termination, etc. They often display signs of delusional disorders of the paranoid type, paranoid personalities, or paranoid schizophrenia. There's resentful stalkers. They make a vendetta because of a sense of grievance against the victims, and they're motivated mainly by the desire to frighten and distress the victim. There's intimacy seekers. They seek to establish an intimate, loving relationship with their victim. They often believe that the victim is a long sought-after soulmate and that they were meant to be together.
Yeah, those are like the ones you hear the most about, I feel like.
Yeah, what I think that story you were talking about before, or no, not your work story, but you did bring something up about these people where they just become infatuated.
Oh, yes. Yeah, they like say that they made eye contact and all of a sudden that they just clicked and they knew, but they were the only ones that knew. The other partner, the other party had no clue.
Yep. They these types of stalkers, they also often have erotomanic. Is that how you say that? Erotomanic delusions.
That sounds about right.
Believing someone is infatuated with you.
Yes.
So like we just mentioned. I'm trying to see. I thought I had another picture of something.
Is it another butt chin?
Another what?
Another
butt chin? No, only one butt chin this
Oh.
episode. Let's see.
Somebody make me a t-shirt that says never forget a butt chin.
Oh, I have pictures of Rebecca Schaefer. That I forgot to put. So that was her.
Oh, she looks like she was on like a Western.
Yeah, very, what was that, in the 70s, 80s?
Yeah.
Yeah, very 70s,
Extremely.
80s vibe.
Oh, and she only made it to 21. That's so
21.
sad.
It sucks. There are incompetent suitors. These stalkers usually have poor social or courting skills. They have a fixation or sense of entitlement to an intimate relationship with those who have attracted their amorous interest. And these victims are most often already in a dating relationship with someone else.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So actually, the case with Rebecca Schaefer, that was that stalker John Bardo. He was an incompetent suitor. He would be categorized in this one because he had a fixation or sense of entitlement to a relationship with Rebecca Schaefer, and Rebecca was actually already seeing someone at the time. So he would fall in that category. There are predatory stalkers, which I think this is the
ties in.
Almost the second to last category. They spy on the victim in order to prepare and plan an attack, often sexual, on the victim. So people who, I guess strangers who would be victims of this would tie in most likely to predatory stalkers, where they're being stalked from a distance. They're not aware, and this stalker will scheme and plan things out the entire time that the victim's being stalked. And then the 2002 National Victim Association Academy defined an additional form of stalking called vengeance or terrorist stalkers. They typically do not seek a personal relationship with their victims. They attempt to force them to elicit a specific response. Vengeance stalkers try to get even with their victim. For example, like an employee who believes they were wrongfully fired by their boss. And terrorist or political stalkers attempt to accomplish a political agenda. For example, anti-abortionists who stalk doctors to dissuade the performance of abortions.
Oh, okay.
So that also kind of ties in.
That makes sense.
Here we're talking about cyber stalking. So this has become very, very prevalent. Beginning in the early 21st century, cyberstalking emerged as a brand new form of stalking behavior. Email, texting, and instant messaging became new avenues of contact for stalkers to utilize. And the ever-expanding growth of technology and social media made it easy for stalkers to search for and message their targets while also enabling anonymity. Cyberstalking and cyberbullying are still very prevalent on social media websites and apps. In one study, 1/4 of stalking victims reported that they had been the victim of cyberstalking. So that's 25% of people.
Yeah.
That, at least for this study, that were interviewed, reported that they were victims of cyberstalking. So it's definitely, I would say, I would argue, this is entirely without any basis of fact, but or facts or research, but cyberstalking, I would imagine, is probably the most common, yeah, out of all cases, because it's so easy, like we mentioned.
Yeah.
It's so easy for people to do.
You got some clove? Taking a sip there?
I think I got a little hibiscus that time.
Oh, a little hibiscus.
Some
little
lemon
coriander.
Mm-hmm.
Some tulip. He said tulip.
Some tulips.
Speedway Jim said tulip.
Speedway Jim would not lie.
You taste some tulip?
You taste some tulip. And much like the legalization that criminalized stalking years prior, cyberstalking followed suit in the U.S. So it is illegal. Don't do it.
Yeah, stop. This is not a guide
Stop
on
right
how
now.
to.
Stop right now. I know you're doing it. You, whoever's listening right now.
You cut it out.
Just stop. Stop whatever you're doing.
Put down your laptop and your phone.
Just go out and buy some Apex Predator by Off Color Brewing.
Yeah, good decision.
Drink yourself to sleep.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. We cut that out.
Drink yourself to sleep.
So, getting near the end, we're going to talk about prevalence. A 2009 National Crime Victimization Survey indicated that during a 12-month period, an estimated 14 in every 1,000 people in the U.S. age 18 or older were victims of stalking. In total, that's approximately 3.4 million people.
That's wild.
That stated that they were stalked.
That's crazy.
About half, 46% of stalking victims experienced at least one unwanted contact per week, and 11% of victims said they had been stalked for 5 years or more.
Oh my God.
The risk of stalking victimization was highest for individuals who were divorced or separated. That's 34 per 1,000 persons.
Stalkers are patient motherfuckers.
Yeah. Women were at greater risk than men for stalking victimization, but women and men were equally likely to experience harassment. Approximately 1 in 4 stalking victims reported some form of cyberstalking, like we mentioned, such as an email, 83%, or instant messaging, 35%.
Who emails?
Yeah, who emails anymore? I wonder...
They probably have a Hotmail account.
Has anyone ever stalked via fax? It just came to mind, like... Anyone sent someone a fax? I know where you live.
Oh, no. Who just has a fax casually? And how did they get their fax number? They're just walking around in their
internet.
house. All of a sudden, they hear their fax go off, just ringing or whatever a fax does. And they're just like, what's this? Important document?
A random fax.
Interesting. I know where you live.
You gotta watch out. Fax numbers, they're easy to find online. Like I said, Facebook, you could search up
Zach
someone's fax
is
number.
a stalker.
You search up someone's fax number, real easy.
You seem a little too prepared for this.
46% of stalking victims felt fear of not knowing what would happen next. Nearly 3 in 4 stalking victims knew their offender in some capacity, and more than half of stalking victims lost 5 or more days from work. So it really does affect your personal life in many, many ways. Your professional life, it's shitty. If you are a victim of stalking, is my last bullet point. If you're in any immediate danger, obviously call 911. But it's important to save important evidence such as text messages, voicemails, letters, pictures, etc. If you get any of these, if you think you're a victim of stalking, you can get an order of protection against your stalker if you contact the police. And there's also another resource here too. If you'd rather not go to the police right away, if you think you have a hunch, something doesn't quite feel right. There's this great resource called the National Center for Victims of Crime. They established a resource center referral helpline where crime victims can learn about their rights and options. confidentially and compassionately. You can visit their website at victimconnect.org, or you can call 855-4-VICTIM. That's 855-484-2846. Again, that's victimconnect.org.
Is that for you? That's it?
That's it for me.
Cool. Let's go into mine.
Move on to some stories.
Because stalking is something that obviously happens very commonly, I wanted to find some stories, but not like famous stories. Mm-hmm. So something like, just a regular person, not like a celebrity.
Sure.
So I went around and did some looking.
You did some stalking?
Some stalking, some internet stalking. Is that appropriate too soon? And I went on Reddit, and I went on Cosmopolitan, and I went on a bunch of different sources, and I found...
Hold on, you went on Reddit?
I did. I don't have an account, and I'll never have an account. Don't look at me with those eyes.
So disappointed.
Those bedroom eyes.
Disappointed.
So I found...
If you're on Reddit, you can follow our subreddit. Yeah, Beer and Faircast.
Yeah, just plug that really quickly. Could have done that at the end. I didn't really interrupt you with plugs. Just saying, Anyways.
You did with your t-shirt.
Okay, well, it wasn't a plug. It was a great idea. So, one of the stories I'm going to do is from Sweet Mercy on Reddit.
Sweet Mercy.
Sweet Mercy. And I'm just going to read these verbatim for what they posted. Okay. Just because they're pretty intense.
Okay.
Sweet Mercy's is definitely the longest. So it's going to go into this. A week or so before my 10th birthday, I walked to the corner store with a $5 bill and picked up a jar of ragu for my mom, like we all do. Mm-hmm. On my way home, a man I'd never seen before fell in step with me and began talking. "Hi," he said cheerfully. "My name is Dr. Ramsey. I'm a pediatrician. Do you know what a pediatrician is?" I walked along silently, not replying, and I know, fervently hoping he would take that as a sign he should leave me alone. Mm-hmm. Subtleties were not his strong suit, though. She is sassy.
If you're listening, take the hint,
yes,
okay?
You could learn that.
Walk away.
You could learn that.
Excuse you.
But he kept right on chattering. "Are your parents looking for a pediatrician for you?" You know how pediatricians do. They just go out and introduce
self-advertise in the grocery store.
To the children. They're like, "Hey, do you have a doctor?
You looking for a pediatrician?
You 10? Here's my card."
Hey, you 10? Look me up.
This is important. "You got an apple? Damn it."
That was worse than my pun.
It was. I said, "Are your parents looking for a pediatrician for you?" "Of course, you're almost a big girl now," which, woof.
Oh, God, I'm so uncomfortable.
I know, me too. "You'll be needing another kind of doctor soon." Whoo! "Won't ya?" "That's okay, though. They can still bring you to me until then. What's your name? You have beautiful hair. I was just on my way to get some suckers for the candy jar in my office. Do you like suckers?" Thankfully, we were nearing my house, so I ran forward, up the back steps, and through the kitchen door. I didn't know it then, but that was the beginning of a very long, very scary ordeal. It didn't take long after that for Dr. Ramsey to begin showing up. At first, it seemed benign enough, at least to a kid. He would drive by nearly every day, smiling and waving. I told my mom, who said maybe it was on his way home from work, but then the phone calls began. My dad called me into the living room and sat me down. He asked me about the day Dr. Ramsey followed me home and if I talked to him. He said I wasn't in trouble, but that I needed to tell him the truth. I told him no, and he asked if I was sure. Could I be forgetting something? I told him no again, and he frowned, then asked, "Then how does he know your name?" I didn't know, and it turns out that was not all he knew. He knew my sister's name as well. Pretty soon, neither my sister or I were allowed to answer the phone. He called several times a day at first. Neither of us knew what he was saying. Then one night... Stalking.
That's great. Oh, is that how?
Stalking. Then one night, one of my brothers told us that he was telling my parents that he was going to hurt me, and later my sister. Things got complicated after that. My dad had called the police, but as this was before there were any stalking laws, there was not a lot they could do. They told my parents to call back if he tried anything. My dad then called a friend of his from back in the day who happened to be a cop. I want to have a friend who has a friend from like back in the day who like used to do some weird shit. You know, like he used to be a cop and he got kicked off the force because he was too forceful. He's an ex-Marine. Like that meme that's like, "You bitch, oh, yeah. I'm an experienced sniper. I have over 100 confirmed kills."
You want a friend like that?
I just want to be able to make fun of him. Like a healthy person. Or was I? Oh, yeah. For the next month, my dad's friend escorted me to and from school. Suddenly, life as I knew it came screeching to a halt. I couldn't walk to school alone. I couldn't play outside. I couldn't walk to Super America, sort of like a 7-Eleven, for those who don't know. She put that in parentheses.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known what that was.
Yeah, me either. When access to me was completely denied, things escalated. It was around this time he began threatening my sister as well. Then one afternoon, my sister, 2 of my brothers, my mom, and I were in the kitchen. One of my brothers saw a glimpse of someone in the garage. They'd seen him too. Dr. Ramsey came bolting out of the garage, my brothers chasing after him. They ran all the way to Cherokee Park, where he lost them in the trees.
My God.
Yeah. My parents called the police again, but nothing came out of it. The only information they had was a description and a name that was almost certainly fake. A couple weeks later, we woke to find our dog hanging from the side porch.
Wait, what?
Hanging.
Oh my God.
Yes. She was a gorgeous saddleback German Shepherd born the same day I was. We were all devastated. The cops said there was no evidence it was him and ruled it accidental. Yeah, because that's accidental. She grabbed the rope herself.
You know the dogs that accidentally hang themselves all the time.
Suicidal dogs are not to be joked about. But none of us believed that. His phone calls became more informative in the meantime. He would talk about who was home and who wasn't. If my brother would say my dad was home, he would tell him who was really in the house. He would also talk about the house itself, about the window in the kitchen he could easily open with a knife from the outside, even if it was locked, and about the French doors that connected the living room to the side porch, and how the lock could be finagled from the outside if you jiggled it just right.
Time to move.
Mm-hmm. That night, my dad put in some carpenter nails at the bottom of the French doors until he could get a new lock ordered. My parents had to go to a company event for my dad's work. My older brothers were at St. West's roller skating rink. My sister was on the phone with her best friend. My little brother was on the floor asleep. I was watching Devo on the midnight special with Wolfman Jack.
Wolfman Jack.
Wolfman Jack.
Mm-hmm.
It was late. Suddenly, the top of the French door swung inward, and in the few milliseconds before the nails in the bottom caused them to snap back, I could see his silhouette. My sister whipped the phone at the television, and we ran up the stairs. About halfway up, we realized our little brother, was still asleep on the living room floor. As quietly as we could, we slipped back down the stairs to get him.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we all went into our bedroom and didn't turn on the light. This way we could see outside. We watched out the window for a while, and when we didn't find him, we crept down the hall to our brother's room to look. We looked down and could see someone standing in the back door. He knocked loudly. "What do you want?" my sister asked out the window. He stepped back and said, "Is this the Mercy residence? I have a pizza for delivery. Can you come to the door?" She scoffed at him, declaring she was not stupid. She could see he didn't have a pizza, and she was calling the cops.
There's no pizza.
Yeah, she said, "Where's the pizza? If you're going to lie with a box."
Okay, what kind of pizza?
Yeah, I didn't order
pizza
any.
we talking?
Yeah, is there pineapple on that? Good. For those of any of who disagree, pineapple belongs on pizza.
Pineapple's pretty good on pizza.
Pineapple is delicious.
Depends on what kind of pizza.
No, pineapple's good on pizza. I'm just saying. A short while later, my brothers returned home. We told them what happened when they walked around the yard watching for him. They came back in and things settled down, but now we'd pretty much given up calling the cops because it never helped. So we just went back in, each of us, except my younger brother, still asleep, carrying a knife from the kitchen, just in case. Eventually, one of my brothers went into the kitchen to get a bowl of cereal as a snack. You know the sensation you get when you can just feel someone watching you? Yeah, he had that in spades. He kept looking around the kitchen through the doorway into the dining room at the windows. He didn't see anything, but he could still feel eyes on him. So he went closer to the door to try and see better. The kitchen lights were reflecting on the windows of the door. It had 3 rows of 3 windows, so he still couldn't see. He stepped closer, then closer again, until he was right up to the door. Then cupped his palms, hands, on either side of his head so you could see. I lost track. There, on the other side of the window pane, was Dr. Ramsey, smiling back at him. He turned to yell for my older brothers, and when he looked back again, he was gone. They went out again to look for him, but didn't see him. The next night, we were at the table playing Crazy Eights, and my brother was restless. My sister asked him, "What's wrong?" And he said he always feels like any minute now there would be a boom, boom, boom on a door window. Almost immediately after he finished the sentence, boom, boom, boom on the window right behind him. In the chaos, the 2 eldest ran out, but he was already gone. A couple weeks later, I was at school and we were outside on the playground during recess. I was swinging upside down when I saw the now familiar blue Ford Galaxy cruising by, moving slowly. There he was, smiling and waving. He called my name and I ran to the teacher and told her. The school had been told all about him and she took me inside right away and called my mom. That same day, my mom had gotten a call from the school office asking her to verify that my dad was picking me up, as he'd called to say he was on his way. He wasn't. Dr. Ramsey. Not long after that, I woke up one night thirsty. I went down to the kitchen for a drink, and there, sitting alone in the dark, was my dad on the table, a gun. He was tired of the police waiting until Dr. Ramsey tried something. He was tired of his children being terrorized. He was tired of being afraid every time he left for work that something would happen to us while he was gone. I sat for him for a time, watching before he sent me back to bed. These events and many more took place over a period of around 18 months. Then suddenly as it began, it was over. He vanished from our lives. The phone calls, the drive-by with the creepy waves, everything. For a long time after that, after the Dr. Ramsey days, I would have a recurring nightmare in which I would wake up to find him standing over me as I slept. It took a long time before I felt like a kid again. I found out years later that when he was calling, Dr. Ramsey would tell my parents that he was going to rape and kill me, and later my sister, and that there was nothing they could do about it. I don't know what happened to him when he disappeared. I don't know if he was in a car wreck, locked in prison, in a coma. But sometimes I wonder if the wait ended for my dad when he was sitting in the darkened kitchen one night. I don't know, and I'm not sure I want to. And that was from, like I said, Sweet Mercy.
Jesus.
Yes, a harrowing thing to deal with as a child. Absolutely terrifying.
Well, and it's so easy to listen to a story like that and just say, like I said, like I joked, time to move. But and obviously I'm sure that was a thought that they had where it's like, we need to get the hell out of here. But you got to think, it's a family. How long have they lived in that house? They've got kids that are going to school. It's not like you just pack up and
Yep.
That's a big thing to have to do. And for someone to be able to put an entire family in that situation where they feel like they have to do that, that's just fucked up.
Well, like you were saying, it's a strain on their entire life. Mm-hmm. Just from someone who has developed this insane infatuation, this insane obsession, mm-hmm. where they think that, I don't know what kind of stalker you would categorize him as, but mm-hmm. just because she was like, hey, this is his whole mental background as to
right.
why he's stalking me.
Right.
This is just what she went through as a child. Mm-hmm. But.
Wow. And another thing I thought of too, it's like, even today, And it's a good thing that I know that story was from a time when when just stalking in general wasn't illegal. There weren't laws outlining this. It wasn't as prevalent then to where it needed to be a thing that enacted in a law where you couldn't do this. But even still, there are people out there that still get stalked all the time, even though they know it's illegal. But at the same time, in either case, the situation that police officers get put in, that's hard because they, as much as you want them to be able to be there and help, they don't have many options most of the time. It's like, okay, if this happens again, if you see him, if he does something, you need to call the police. Let us know right away. And then most of the time they get out there and he's gone. And all you have is just information to add to this constantly evolving situation that could go on for years mm-hmm. with this person that's just terrorizing your life. And in that position, it seems like you feel powerless and the police can feel powerless as well because they're never going to be there when it happens. It's always just a report. Mm-hmm. And it sucks because you wish that there was more that they could do to prevent that from happening. But it's such an unfortunate thing that can't be helped a lot of times. I can't believe
he hung their dog.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
Also, how do you rule that as accidental?
It wasn't an accident.
I think dogs don't have thumbs.
That was the shitty part on the police there, but
knots.
They obviously couldn't prove that he was the one who did it, but it's pretty clear that he was the one who did it.
Well, they didn't have a name. They didn't have anything. Uh-huh. They didn't have any trace of...
Yeah.
And what year did this take place? It's not like the information was there.
Yeah. It had to be before, at least the 1990s. That was when California had their law. But, and that ties in too. It's like the police get there, there's not much they can do. And it's unfortunate when they have to tell the victims that. It's like, sorry, we can't really do anything. You can have as much information as you want. And until you have an address or an actual name on this person, which oftentimes you don't get, even if you do, it's like they can't convict the guy unless, or girl, they can't convict the stalker until they witness the crime actually taking place.
Right.
And I'd say 98% of the time, it doesn't work out that way. It's constant reports by these victims that just feel completely helpless. It's unfortunate.
I have one more story, and it's a quick one. It's not as long as the Dr. Ramsey one.
Okay.
This one is also from Reddit, from poster Walter Disney with 2 E's. Interesting name. In the mid-'80s, my mum, it says mum.
My mum.
Mum was a cleaner in Australia. She would do clean houses.
She would do clean them.
She would clean houses in suburban areas and would sometimes do houses in rural wine regions. We lived near both. She would leave business cards at the local shops and got most of her business this way, and some through referrals and word of mouth. One day she got a call from a lady who sounded like she was around 60, asking Mum to clean her old farmhouse. She made a lot of odd demands, and Mum would usually meet clients before taking on new business. In this case, the lady did not want to meet and said she would leave the keys under the front doormat. She agreed, mainly because the lady was quite obviously wealthy and was offering to pay her a substantial amount, more than she would reasonably expect. She went to the house on a Monday morning and said she already felt unnerved by the long driveway. The house was essentially in the middle of a very large and very empty property. She found the keys and started cleaning. About an hour into the clean, she hears the back door shut. She was told no one would be at the house, so she immediately felt unsafe. She stood frozen in the kitchen for what she felt like 3 to 4 minutes, although she said it could have been much longer. There was no other car on the property. She wanted to leave immediately, but had 2 rooms left to do. Both were bedrooms. She said as time passed and she heard nothing else, she decided that perhaps it was nothing or perhaps something had fallen and it wasn't the door after all. She walked up the hallway and stepped into the bedroom. All over the bed were black and white photos. As Mom got closer, she realized the photos were of her.
Oh, God.
Some were taken at our family home, and many others were taken at other houses she would clean, some through windows or over fences. She used the house phone to call the police and immediately drove to the end of the driveway. The lady ended up being investigated, but continued to claim that it was a break-in. After some time, the police stopped with their search, and we ended up moving to a new town 4 months later. Just a quick one, but just walking into a room to photographs of yourself.
Wait, so the lady who had hired this person, she claimed she was innocent?
Yes.
And that there was a break-in and someone had placed the photos there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To this day, her mom says that she still believes that the lady is involved in some way. But,
Oh, sure. I mean, that's.
But I could also say I could see how they could claim it was a break-in if she knew when it was gonna, like if they're being stalked thoroughly. If you're stalking properly.
Yeah, and that's another thing, too, where it's like, I mean, the evidence kind of points to, yeah, that person is the suspect. They have these black and white photos of this family and this person, but you still can't, if you were to take that to court, you can't prove that.
Exactly.
And
it's all word of mouth.
Yeah, that's another struggle that I feel like a lot of victims have to deal with. You can have so much what seems like overwhelming evidence, and just still this guy gets let out.
Yeah, and you get nowhere with it, and it's a joke.
That's pretty shitty. That's frightening.
Isn't it terrifying? Well, that's Stalkers.
Yeah. I'm uncomfortable.
I am too. How'd you like the beer?
It's just, let's move on.
Closing off that topic, thoughts on the coriander clove beer?
I like it. I think it's definitely a step away from. I mean, this is our 3rd beer, so to say was a step away from what we've normally been drinking wouldn't make much sense. But It is a different. I guess what I'm trying to say, it is a different beer, and I like that it's different.
A change up.
It's unique. It's very tasty and fruity, and it's a good.
Speedway Jim was right.
He was very correct in all of his descriptive remarks and comments.
Tulips, they were there. Coriander, it's there.
The tulips are just very tulip forward.
Yeah, that's tulip if I ever tasted it.
Realistically, very lemony and fruity and sweet. It's a good summer.
I recommend it.
It's a good spring through autumn beer. I wouldn't drink it during the winter, but it's very, very easy to drink and enjoyable.
If you get a chance, pick up Apex Predator from Off Color Brewing. It's pretty solid.
I'm almost done with this pint already. I feel like I just have so much more to say.
There's a lot that goes into this topic.
I feel like that we didn't really. I mean, we could talk for hours on.
We're keeping it
stalking.
simple.
But I mean, my heart really goes out to the victims of that. I mean, what, 25% of the people approximately could be victims if you were to ask. So that's like 1 in 4 people. If you were to just walk and meet 4 people, chances are one of them's been a victim of stalking.
Yeah.
That just blows my mind. It's ridiculous and a little unfortunate that this is a serious thing that people have to concern themselves with and worry about, and sometimes live their entire lives with the emotional struggles. And if they have been a victim of long-term stalking and trying to move on and live with their life,
never being able to relax, never
right,
being able to live a
having that sense of
relatively normal
normalcy.
life.
So I mean, that makes me very fortunate that I haven't had to go through a situation like that.
Yeah.
But definitely, my thoughts are with those people. Again, we mentioned that if you're a victim, you have those resources available to you. Don't feel like that you're helpless, even though it may seem like that a lot of the time. You have help available to you, and it's there if you need it. So. So it feels like it's kind of a downer. It's very serious.
You're a downer.
We
were trying to go towards the beer, and then you took a nosedive right into sad town.
Well, again, it's a very serious thing, and
like
I know
you live there.
I know. We try to introduce some humor into this as well, and we talk about scary things. But sometimes, a lot of these things can be pretty serious, and they can resonate with people who might be listening. So we just want to emphasize that we understand that. But we hope you enjoyed this episode. If you end up buying the beer, we hope you enjoy the beer because it is very good. I'd say it's my favorite so far out of the 3 that we've had.
You're my favorite so far.
Aw. I really liked the last one, the porter that we had, because I'm a big fan of porters, but this is a very good hazy, fruity ale.
Tulipy.
Trying to think if... Oh, a couple updates that I saved here because I would have inevitably forgotten. I mentioned the pages section on our website. If you go to our website, you can always see all of our releases on there. We have them distributed to all of the other podcasting platforms as well. But our website has those resources available. If you open that left menu, you can see it's listed under pages and all of our... Huh? It's listed under pages, all of the episode names, and just click on it and you can see the pictures that we talk about, and videos and audios and charts and things like that we talk about in the episode. Another big thing, we are on Spotify finally.
Officially.
We were trying to get on Spotify for a few weeks now. Our 2 episodes are on there. This 3rd one will be released on Spotify as well. All of our future episodes from this point on will automatically get released to Spotify. But we're again on all of the other podcasting platforms as well. If you don't use Spotify, if you have an iPhone, an Apple phone, if you use Apple Podcasts, or if you have Samsung and you use Google Podcasts, whatever you listen to, I'm going to run them through really quick so everyone's aware. Apple Podcast, CastBox, Castro, Deezer, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Listen Notes, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Podbean, Spotify,
Spoofy,
Stitcher, TuneIn, and we're on YouTube as well. So all of our stuff's all over the internet. Follow us on social media. Give us a like and subscribe to our stuff if you're a fan. You can stay up to date with our future episodes and content. We've got Facebook, Twitter, and our super cool subreddit if you're a Redditor like I am. And if
like
you're as
all
cool
nerds
as me.
Are. No one is as cool as you
aren't.
aren't.
And not like Paige. And then
I'm going to punch him after this.
send us an email to bearandfearcast@gmail.com because we still need stories.
For flights and frights, please.
Yeah.
We need stories.
We really need stories. I've been asking a lot of friends and a lot of relatives.
All y'all lazy and just don't want to send a freaking email.
Send us an email because we'd love to read your story on our podcast and shout you out.
Send me a text message.
Really anything. But put it on the subreddit. Send us a snap or whatever.
Please suggest a beer as well. If you suggest Bud Light, I won't be talking to you.
If you suggest Bud Light, we won't read your story. We'll delete you and block you from everything.
Yes, exactly. We're snooty.
But please send us an email if you've got a cool story, if you've got a friend or family that has a story. Cause
even if it's not a cool story, if it's a scary story,
Yes.
Or a touching story.
Yes.
We just want something spooky.
So anything spooky with a beer. And we hope to read them on a future episode of Flights and Frights. We'll go ahead and release that episode as soon as we have enough stories. And
I would say September 1st.
Yeah, we hope, we're aiming for September 1st if we get enough stories. And we hope to make that a recurring thing every month, every first of the month, to release those episodes as well. So,
well, that was episode 3.
That's episode 3.
Have a lovely day, everybody.
Enjoy. It's beautiful weather, and don't have to deal with the storm.
Right now it is. I don't know what tomorrow's
You're in the Midwest.
Like.
I don't know where you live. You could not be in the States, and it could be awful weather.
Either way, enjoy your day.
There's a freaking hurricane in Florida, Paige. You hear about that?
Enjoy your day.
Gosh, I can't. If those people need to relax.
We're not going into this.
Okay, because Florida's got like COVID, and it's just abundant, and people.
Yes, and Walt Disney World is open, and it shouldn't be, and everything's covered in germs, and alligators are going to rule the town.
And now they've got a typhoon.
Those are the only main.
We feel for you, Florida. Hang in there, okay? It's hard. Your life is hard. Things will get better. This year just needs to be over with. Yeah, it's just time to move. Find another state to live.
Leave the state. Abandon the state.
Just take a break for 2020. Come back in 2021. Okay.
There we go.
Everything's back to normal.
It'll still be bad.
It'll still be bad.
Well, that's it.
Well.